My husband's family disowned my mill and I didn't, and now it's creating problems within my marriage. I'm 28M and I've been with my husband, 29M, for 7 years, married for almost 1. This has been a genuinely good relationship. I love him deeply, and we've built something I'm proud of. He fits in great with my family, and I've always felt at home with his. I'm close with his younger brother and his girlfriend, but the person I've always felt the strongest connection with is his mom. A few years back, I went through a rough depressive episode, and she was one of the only people who truly showed up for me. She didn't treat me like her son's partner, she treated me like family. I've always loved her for that. I'm close with my Phil too, but with my Mill, it always felt like more of a friendship. Then, everything flipped. Just after Christmas, my Phil sat us all down and told us that she had been having an affair, and that it wasn't the first time. He said he tried to make things work, but he couldn't do it anymore. He was heartbroken, and it shattered the whole family. My husband and his brothers were crushed. They all cut contact with her, and she moved out soon after. I get it. Cheating is a betrayal, especially after decades of marriage. I'm not trying to excuse what she did. But I also couldn't ignore the fact that, during one of the worst times in my life, she showed me care and kindness when I felt like I had no one. That stayed with me. A few weeks ago, she reached out to me directly. She said she was running low on rent and didn't know who else to ask. She sounded anxious and desperate. I helped her. It wasn't a huge amount, and she was incredibly grateful. She asked if I'd be willing to meet her for coffee. I said yes. When we met, she broke down. She told me she'd tried reaching out to her sons, but none of them responded. I listened. I didn't try to defend her or fix anything. I just tried to be there for her, the way she once was for me. Later that evening, I told my husband about it. He completely lost it. He said I betrayed him and went behind his back, and he left the house. The next day, I tried to explain where I was coming from. I told him I wasn't trying to choose sides. I just reacted to someone I care about being in a tough spot. He didn't say much, just told me not to do it again. When his brothers found out, they were disappointed in me too. They said I crossed a line and should have respected their decision to cut contact. Now I feel stuck. I understand why they're upset. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I just couldn't turn my back on someone who once didn't turn her back on me. I wasn't trying to undermine their pain. I was trying to act with compassion. I'm not here to justify what I did, and I understand why my husband feels hurt. I acted on instinct and compassion in a tough moment, but now I feel like I've damaged something really important. I'd really appreciate advice as to what to do further. How do I navigate this? Final update, lost access to my previous account, so posting it from here I didn't expect my post to gain the kind of traction it did. I genuinely appreciate the advice many of you offered. Some responses were a bit nuclear, understandably, Reddit, but I did take in a lot of perspectives that helped me reflect. I want to share some context that I didn't include in the original post, which I now realize was important. A few years ago, I went through a rough depressive episode. My husband and I were doing long distance at the time, he was working abroad, and while he supported me as best he could, it was hard. His mom was the one who showed up in person. She dropped by often, made sure I was eating, even came with me to therapy a couple of times. It wasn't some grand gesture, but it mattered. That kind of consistency stays with you. So when she reached out a few days ago, anxious and saying she didn't know who else to ask, I just reacted. I helped her with a bit of money, from my personal account, nothing major, and I agreed to meet her for coffee. I didn't tell my husband before doing it, and that was where things really unraveled. He was blindsided. We've always been the kind of couple who talks through the hard stuff, and I acted completely on my own. I see now how that felt like betrayal to him. After a bit of space and some heavy conversations, we talked properly. He told me he'd spoken to his younger brother and finally got the full story about their last attempt to reach out to their mom. It wasn't just an argument, it was bad. She said things that were apparently cruel and deeply personal, the kind of stuff that cuts years deep. I hadn't known any of that. Neither of us had. Hearing it changed something for me. The woman I saw at coffee was warm, vulnerable, even a little lost. But that's not the woman his brother dealt with. And maybe both are real. Maybe she's unraveling. Maybe she's always been complicated. I honestly don't know. What I do know is that my husband's boundaries are valid. He told me clearly that he's not ready to reconnect with her, and that he's not comfortable with me being in touch with her either. And after hearing what I've heard, I understand that. I've told him I'm stepping back. If she does reach out again, I'll tell her that I can't be the person in the middle, not unless something genuinely shifts between them first. We both apologized. He for shutting down so quickly, me for making a decision without him when I shouldn't have. We're okay now. I still think there's something more going on with her, emotionally, maybe even mentally. She's been a stay-at-home mom most of her life, her siblings live abroad, and from what I've heard, she's already asked her friends for help before coming to me. That doesn't excuse anything, but it does make me think about how lost she might be right now. Still, that's not something I can fix. Right now, my focus is on us. I can care about what his mom did for me in the past and still recognize that she's hurt people I love. This whole situation has been messy and a bit surreal. We didn't walk away from it with everything fixed, but we've come out of it with a better understanding of where we each stand. We handled it the best we could, and at the end of the day, we're still solid. Still, I can't lie, there's a part of me that feels pulled toward who she was for me during that rough time. Letting go emotionally feels messier than I expected. How do you emotionally let go of someone who was once there for you, when the situation clearly calls for distance?